Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us today. Thanks for joining us today, actually. And today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And this chapter is filled with blessings. So please join us for Jarada Mother prayers. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava the recitation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And dear devotees, today we are studying chapter 5 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And here, Lord reveals to us how we can all be peaceful. And he also mentioned earlier that how can one be happy if one is not peaceful? So an anxious mind, a mind filled with all kind of anxieties, how can that person be happy, if he is not peaceful? So please join us in the recitation of the first verse. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, verse 1. Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam Tacham Shashi Yat Shreyayat Yorekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam. Translation by His Divine Grace S. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Arjun said, O Krishna, first of all you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? Hare Krishna. Please join us in the recitation of the prayers to invoke blessings of Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dina Taranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada reveals that Lord Krishna had no intention. He had very clearly identified, and he had no intention of confusing Arjuna. Yet at the same time, Arjuna seems to be getting confused, because Arjuna is thinking that akarma, right? That inaction and renunciation. So again, inaction. So renunciation is, exclusively different than action. And he is literally taking the word akarma on its appearance. And appearance can be deceiving, right? So once Srila Prabhupada, when he was in New York, Matchless Gift Stores, so that's where he was giving daily discourses, and various American boys and girls had joined him and were practicing bhakti yoga, chanting of the holy name and so forth. So they were engaged in devotional service. So once there were some Indians, they walked into saying, oh, this is a temple, so let's look. And they looked at Srila Prabhupada sitting there. And he said, Swamiji, please bless us. And Srila Prabhupada pointed to the young boys and girls. So the boys were all shaven head, right? And he said, these are my blessings. And so they were directly affected by the looks. They said, oh, if we, we will become like these kids who were nicely shaven head. And Srila Prabhupada said that when these boys and girls, again, this is at a different time, when they came to Krishna consciousness in the beginning, they were not very clean, right? They had long hair, they had not good lifestyle, so again, they did not care of different things. Yet they seemed to be renouncing everything. And because of the frustration that there is so much anxiety in this world, there is no peace in this world. And there was, Vietnam War era was going on. So against the war, against the social, ways, they were revolting against all these things. So when they came, many of them were drug addicts. Many of them were, living in not so good conditions, not so good lifestyle. But when they came to Krishna consciousness, it completely transformed their life, because then they were saying, what is the purpose of life? But they were not finding it. and they were rejecting all the bad things. Yet at the same time, Srila Prabhupada identified they couldn't reject one thing, the sensual gratification that comes from Mathanagraha, the place. This material world is where the sensual pleasures are sought. So that is, the skin disease, the itch disease that Srila Prabhupada said they could not get rid of that. While they seem to be renouncing everything. But coming to Krishna consciousness, they properly aligned to what is the purpose of life. So it is not saying, I'm not going to do this because I don't like it, but rather to know what is it that we should do. We cannot be desireless. We will always have desire because we are all living entities. So Arjuna is thinking that vairagya, renunciation, is exclusive. It cannot be mixed with action. And that's where the confusion is coming. And so again, the Indians, means again presidents of India who were visiting US at that time, when they visited the store, they immediately closed the door, not seeking blessing, not realizing that they are missing out on the greatest blessing for the mankind, to take to devotional service. So looks can be deceiving, thinking that, oh, if we engage in devotional service, our hairstyle will become like that of devotees, right? So that is misunderstanding. These are misconceptions. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. Lord Shiva is the topmost Vaishnava. So everybody, is so much amazed. But Daksha, when he was performing his yajna, he did not invite his youngest daughter. The youngest daughter is the most dear to the father, Mother Sati. And so she was highly, disturbed. And Lord Shiva was not disturbed at all, because he was properly situated. And he told her not to go. And Daksha, why did he not invite? Because he thought that Lord Shiva should be respecting, because he is his, Daksha's son-in-law. And when he went to the assembly previously, at that time, everybody got up except for Lord Shiva. So Daksha started blaspheming Lord Shiva, saying that this person, Shiva means all auspicious. But he is saying that this person is not at all auspicious. He is covered with this crematorium area, the ashes that, because of the way it flows. And Lord Shiva, he is the one who takes all the offerings from the crematorium. So all the offerings are done to Lord Shiva. And so he is a very dirty person, from his appearance. He has matted locks, he is covered with, ashes from the crematorium. He is wearing a garland of skulls, he is wearing deer skins, and he is holding a trishul, a damaru, and he seems to be, very dirty from the outer. But inside, Lord Shiva is the most auspicious. He is all auspicious. But looks can be deceiving. So that is where this chapter is focusing us, bringing us to realize that there are blessings all around us. All we have to do is open ourselves to that knowledge. And one of the very good examples Srila Prabhupada used to give was that a person is sitting in a dark room at daytime and is thinking there is no sun, right? Well, to see the sun, you have to walk out of that dark room so that you can see things as they are. If you close yourself to the light of the sun, to the light of the knowledge that's coming from the scriptures, that's being imparted by none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Kṛṣṇa himself, then we are doing a great injustice to ourselves and to humanity, because the purpose of this life is to renounce the fruits of the action and engage in pleasing Lord Shri Krishna. Anasaktasya vishayam yataram upayunjata nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagyam uchyate. So, without being affected by various aspects of life, we have to understand that everything is in relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. So we have to learn to see this. That knowledge has been imparted in Bhagavad Gita. And when we learn this, and when we associate everything, we understand everything in relationship with Lord Shri Krishna, then we engage everything for His pleasure. And that is Yukta Vairagya. So that is a proper definition of renunciation. How to renounce everything, yet be in this world but not of this world. So today we'll be talking of blessings. So if you wish to be blessed, let's start. This chapter can very easily be identified with the word bless, B-L-E-S-S. the first 6 verses referred to be, as in belonging. Where do you belong? So Lord Krishna reveals this, that you have to act based on your belonging and the true nature of the soul. We are living entities, we are soul. So we are spiritual beings, in this material world. So, but we are not of this material world. The body that we receive is, from the material world. So again, from the material nature. And so it is where we think sometimes that I am this body. And when we think in this manner, immediately we are influenced by false ego. False ego is thinking that I am this body. And ego is understanding that I am a spirit soul. Jivera Surupoya Krishnera Nityada. So there is gulf of difference between these two mindsets. And the first mindset, thinking that I am this body, makes one think that I am the one who is doing everything. And all the things that are happening, I am the cause behind that. All those causes. And so everything is for my sense enjoyment. And that is the wrong thinking. While Lord Krishna is revealing to Arjuna that you should understand where you belong. You are a living entity. You are a spirit soul. You are most dear to the Supreme Lord. He loves you. And you have been given the potencies, the abilities to do various activities. So we are Tatashte Shakti. Chivera Sarupoya Krishna Nityadas. We as living entities are eternal servant of Lord Krishna. Krishnera Tatashte Shakti Bed Abed Prakash. So this is where simultaneous one and different aspect comes in. So we are the marginal potency, marginal energy of Lord Shri Krishna, and we are simultaneously one and different. Qualitatively, we are same as Lord Krishna, but quantitatively, his Vibhu, we are Anu. So he is unlimited, we are very limited. Just like a drop of water from the ocean. So if Lord Krishna is the ocean, we are just drop of water from the ocean. So in quantity, we are limited. If he is the gold mine, we are maybe a gold ring or gold earring. So these ornaments are very limited. Yet at the same time, the gold mine is vast, magnanimous. So that is the difference. Understand where you belong to. And Lord Krishna did not intend to confuse Arjuna, but to Arjuna, the work and renunciation seems to be incompatible. He doesn't and this is for our benefit. Arjuna is asking this question so that we understand that akarma does not mean no work. It actually means work without attachment to the fruitive results. That is what Lord Krishna means. When in 4:18 he says, one who sees action in inaction and inaction in action sees everything as they are. So we have to understand that when one is working without attaching to the fruits of the action, but actually offering everything for Lord Shri Krishna, then that is to please Lord Shri Krishna, and there is no reaction to it. And even karma, where one acts and acts as per the Vedic injunction, as per prescribed duties, as per the rules and regulations given in the Vedas, even there, there are fruits and there are reactions. So for pious actions, pious reaction. One gets material benefit, higher positions, beauty, recognition, knowledge, and so forth, so that one can rise higher. But one gets attached to the fruits, that is Sakama Karma Yoga. So that causes one to again get bind and take birth again. And what are the miseries of this world? Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukha Doshanu Darshanam. Birth, death, old age, disease. So these are the miseries we want to get away from. So one has to engage in akarma, not vikarma. Vikarma is forbidden action. They have reactions which lead to distress. Akarma is action without attachment to the fruits, that is inaction. So sometimes, when we discuss inaction, people get confused. So we have to understand what inaction is. Inaction means akarma in Sanskrit, which means action without attachment to the fruits of the result. So one has to act in that renouncing the fruits of one's action. Because all acts should be dovetailed to please Lord Shri Krishna. And what are the beautiful effects, what are the beautiful blessings Lord Krishna reveals in this world? How one can become peaceful, how one can attain, that higher stage of Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi is knowing it. But situated on that platform of Brahman is experiencing it, is realizing it. So this chapter covers our journey from knowledge, the transcendental knowledge that we covered in chapter 4, over to realization, when we apply that knowledge in our life. One very simple example can be given is if we have a recipe of, say, gulab jamun, right? And we look at the recipe. So the recipe is, now we have knowledge from the recipe. It has been written down, we understand it, we know, we can even somehow visualize it. That's knowing it. But unless we act on it to make that gulab jamun, then we cannot realize it. Because it's only after we make it and when taste it, then we know how good the recipe is and how accurate it is, as well as how well have we understood it. If it says something and we misunderstand something, so the effect will be in the result. And of course, devotees know that if you make something, you make it as an offering to Lord Krishna. Why? Because when you offer it to Lord Krishna as bhoga, and you recite the prayers that, oh my dear Lord, please accept this food which I have prepared very lovingly for your pleasure, and bless it. So the blessing is, we are always seeking blessings for our purification. And when we have made the offering and afterwards we pick it up as remnants of his offering, we call it prasad. Prasad means mercy. So that prasad is purifying our consciousness, is purifying our senses. It's enabling the finer tissues of our memory to develop so that we can have sharp intelligence and all our acts are purified with the right mindset. So this has been there's been a great study in Japan where they realized that the consciousness matters. It actually affects the very water molecules and different patterns evolve. So we, using the right consciousness, elevate ourselves so we are in this material world but not of this material world. So Lord Krishna is revealing. Now the specific question is, yes, when he is saying that you are asking me to work in devotion and renunciation, but which of the two? This is, your equivocal words are very confusing to me. So which of the two is better? So Lord Krishna's answer is, Lord Krishna reveals that, my dear Arjun, both of them are liberating. So, renouncing the work with knowledge, right? So he is referring to, Lord Krishna is revealing that when one renounces the work, so he is not engaging in this material world to seek sense gratification. Rather, he is seeking the path of Jnana Yoga. He is taking the path of Jnana Yoga to acquire knowledge, to understand what is what. And that is also elevating because it's yoga connecting with Supreme, while working in devotion is also liberating because it is working without having reaction, because it is to please Lord Shri Krishna. So that is Yukta Vairagya, when our acts are dovetailing pleasing Lord Shri Krishna and not seeking the fruits of our action, that is Yukta Vairagya, that is proper renunciation. So that is belonging to our difference. But then Lord Krishna says that of the two, work in devotion is better. Why? Because knowing is good, but unless you know, right, you act on what you know, you have not realized it. So knowing is Jnana, right? Knowledge means Jnana, but realization is Vijnana. So it is experiencing it, and that leads to higher platforms. So that is the next level up. So a very simple process have been explained by Acharyas: thinking, feeling, willing, and then acting. And based on the mindset we have, we may have reaction, we may not have reaction. If we are, pleasing Lord Shri Krishna and renouncing the fruits of our action, which means the fruits are not just thrown away, but rather whatever is the result of our action should be used in serving Lord Shri Krishna. So there is a constant chain reaction going on. So you get something, you engage in serving Lord Shri Krishna. And when you please Lord Shri Krishna, further you get something, you again engage it, because everything is, Lord Krishna's. And when one acts in this manner in pleasing Lord Shri Krishna, further expanding. This is a chain reaction that sets one, and just like a car is accelerating, it's setting up that acceleration so that we can elevate higher and higher for our own purification, as we'll be discussing. So be in bless refers to belonging. Where do you belong? So we should belong to that higher consciousness where we act. So we act with knowledge. Knowledge is the transcendental knowledge that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Krishna revealed in chapter 4 that one who understands that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada in the purport says, is already a liberated person from the very beginning of the study of Bhagavad Gita. So if you know, that realization, that knowing itself is liberating. Liberating from the three modes of material nature, liberating from the miseries of this world. It liberates us, it frees us, it rises us above from all kinds of anxieties, just by knowing that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is a great blessing to have. So this chapter, again, Lord Krishna is revealing that what is inaction. Inaction is action without attachment to the fruits of one's actions. Now, 7 through 12 verses refer to how one gets liberated in Krishna consciousness. So, bless, L stand for liberates one in Krishna consciousness. So that is based on realization. That teaches us how to act. We should act not in ignorance but in knowledge. And that way, when we are acting with knowledge that I am a spirit soul, I am Jiva, I am a living entity, I am an eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna, I am part and parcel of Lord Shri Krishna. Sometimes people ask this question, what does part and parcel means? Part is in a portion, right? Part is, anu. Anu means limited, right? But we are same in quality. But parcel also means that we have full functionality, that we can function fully given based on the abilities that we have received from Lord Shri Krishna. So even though we are Anu and he is Vibhu, and Vibhu means he is the potent, he is all energetic, he is all powerful, and energies and energetic cannot be separated. So vibhutis, there are various kind of vibhutis, and they are in three categories: internal potency, represented by Radharani; marginal potency, we the living entities; and then the material energy, external potency, Mahamaya. So these three are there. So we have to understand without thinking that I am this body, because that is the influence of false ego. Then false ego comes to life. We should realize our true position and then act accordingly. So this is a great blessings. And everyone, so now in the 7th verse, Lord Krishna is saying that everyone is dear to a devotee, because devotee is acting with the right consciousness, understanding that every other living entity is in relation with Lord Shri Krishna, is very dear to Lord Shri Krishna. They are all living entities, not just human beings, but also animals, plants, aquatics, birds. Everyone is very dear to Lord Shri Krishna. And so the devotee, when he is working for the benefit of all living entities. And so devotee is dear to all living entities. So this reciprocation even among the devotees comes. So a person who is a neophyte, who is not very advanced, he normally, as Srila Rupa Goswami reveals, is going to the temple just to see the deity. But a devotee is going to the temple not just to see the deities and serve the deities and engage in devotional service, but also to have loving exchanges with all the devotees at the temple. So that is a higher level. And then the conversations, the meditations, the words, the mind is constantly absorbed in thinking of Lord Krishna's name, form, activities, pastimes, which simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. And repeating what Lord Srila Prabhupada used to say, chant and be happy. So how Lord Krishna says, how can one be happy if one is not peaceful? So peacefulness is required, peace is required for one to become happy. So by chanting mantra, one that delivers the mind, one that liberates the mind, one that purifies our mind. So mantra, by chanting, and this is Maha Mantra, it transcends the three modes of material nature. It rises above the three modes of material nature. And so one can be liberated and the mind can be purified. So there is a beautiful analogy given by Lord Shri Krishna. He explains in the 10th verse that one should be just like a lotus leaf, which is, even though it's in water, it's untouched by water. Now lotus leaf has a thick wax layer on it. So if there is a water drop that falls on it, it quickly rolls off. So again, it is in the water but untouched by water because of the wax layer. So this consciousness that I am an eternal soul, Aham Brahmasmi, I am an eternal living entity, I am Brahman by nature, and I am not of this world, but I am in this world. I have just been placed in this material world, and my purpose is to act at my Sanatana Dharma, at my constitutional position, aligned with my prescribed duties. So they have to be perfectly balanced, because we have to act. And accordingly, when we act at that level, then we have this beautiful umbrella of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna that protects us from all the happenings that are externally happening. And that has been explained here. So one gets purified and one gradually liberates to that higher platform so that we can go. So again, E in bless stands for elevate through detachment. So these are verses 13 through 16, where Lord Krishna is telling the relationships of three actors or three doers, and he is identifying that there are three doers in this material world. So Bhagavad Gita refers to 5 subject matters. What are those 5 subject matters? Lord Shri Krishna, the super soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again, super soul is his partial manifestation, and then it is we, living entities, jivas. Then the third is material nature, Maya. Fourth is time, that sets everything, the three modes of material nature, in action. And fifth is karma, the various activities we engage in. So these 5 subject matters have been discussed. So this chapter is very important that it refers to karma yoga in Krishna consciousness. So action in Krishna consciousness are called akarma, because without having attachment to the fruits. So that is nishkama karma yoga, where there is no reaction to our actions, and actually we get the blessings right at that moment. And when we engage in this way, one of the realization Lord Krishna is revealing in the 13th verse is that one who is thus engaged without attached to the fruits, but only seeking to serve him in devotion, such a person can live in the city of 9 gates very peacefully, neither working nor causing to work, right? So such a person, his refrain is residing in the city of 9 gates. So 9 gates are referring to the 9 holes in our body. There are 2 holes for the eyes, 2 holes for the ears, 1 mouth, 2 nostrils. That's 7. Now people say, what are the other 2? So genitals and anus. So that's 8th and 9th. So the 9 gates. So the body is a city of 9 gates. We also discussed the story of Puranjan and Puranjani in Srimad Bhagavatam class, where the city of 9 gates has also been discussed. So this body is referred to be a city of 9 gates. Yet at the same time, one who is bewildered, one who is influenced by the false ego, thinking I am this body, thinks that I am the controller of the body, I am the owner of the body, and I am the one who is doing everything. And this is where one gets bewildered, because their actions are oriented to seek sense gratification, which causes reactions, and the reactions are binding in this material world. So one has to take birth. But to not take birth, to become liberated from the miseries of this life, one has to simply take to devotional service, simply take to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. So all the actions would then be dovetail in pleasing Lord Shri Krishna without having any relationship associated with the body. Now this is very important,
Because when we say not associate with the body, but we have to act with the body, right? People get confused. So there are various designations that Arjuna is experiencing when he is, in Vishad Yoga, the first chapter, and in the beginning of the second chapter, he is revealing various reasons. He gives 5 reasons. And there, he is associating with the various designations that comes from his body. He is looking at someone, he is looking at Bhishma Pitama as his grandsire. So he is saying, I am grandson, he is my grandfather. He is looking at Dronacharya as his guru. So he is saying, I am the disciple and he is my instructing spiritual master. He is my teacher. He taught me how to fight. How can I shoot arrows at him? And he is looking at all his relatives, his uncles, his brothers, and so forth, his cousins, and he is getting bewildered because he is looking at various upadhis, designations associated with the bodies. And there is a verse that reveals Sarva upadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So what is the topmost seva? How does one perform topmost seva? Sevanam bhakti uchyate. So that devotional service is, elevated. That devotional service is pure, where one does not refer to the various designations one has with the body, yet at the same time serves Lord Rishikesha, one who is master of the senses, through the senses. Rishikena Rishikesha. So engaging our senses in pleasing Lord Rishikesha, in pleasing the master of the senses, we become satisfied. So that has been revealed here, that one should elevate through detachment. That detachment is not to the work, but rather to the fruits of one's work, the fruits of one's actions. And that is a karma, as we discussed earlier. Now, we covered BLE. So the first S refers to Samadarshina. So at this particular moment, means at this particular juncture, this is verses 7 through to 26, 17 through 26. Lord Krishna is revealing that one who is in Krishna consciousness, one who understands that I am, a spiritual being, I am not of this world, but I am in this world, such a person, he attains wonderful qualities. And that person becomes a Samadarshi. He sees things as they are. That's also another way of saying Samadarshi, who sees things as they are. The seeker seeing things as they are. And what is the perception? That they are seeing everything in relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. The verse 18 here is very important in chapter 5. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavi hastini shuni chaiva shvapake cha pandita samadarshina. One who is learned, a learned sage, sees with equal vision. And what does he see with equal vision? Brahmane, a Brahman, right? Gavi, a cow. Hastini, an elephant. Shuni cheva shopakecha, a dog and a dog eater. He sees with equal vision because he sees that the super soul is everyone's heart, all are living entities, and everyone has a relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. And when one thinks that something does not have relationship with Lord Shri Krishna, should not be dovetailed in serving Lord Shri Krishna, but should be sought, for sense gratification, that person is in illusion, and that is Maya. That is literally the definition of Maya. That person is deluded. Maya makes one think that I am this body. Everything is for me to enjoy. I am going to lord over material energy, not realizing that material energy is actually, she already has a lord, and that lord is Lord Shri Krishna. And you don't want to be in competition with Lord Shri Krishna because he is the supreme master, he is the Parameshwar. Rather, to get blessings should be the mood, so that we become peaceful, so that we can further become happy. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. We can further elevate to the Brahman stage. And that has been identified. And one conquers birth and death and is situated in Brahman stage. That has been revealed in the 19th verse. There is also a reference given in the 18th chapter, where Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. So Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So a person at the Brahma Bhuta stage is Prasannatma. He is very happy. he is rejoicing, he is experiencing transcendental bliss. So we all want that blessing, right? To always be happy, to always be immersed in that transcendental bliss, to always spread and work for the benefit of others, and thus purify our life by serving Lord Shri Krishna. So that Prasannatma is na shochati, does not lament about the past. Whatever has happened in the past has happened because of the mercy of Lord Shri Krishna. Whatever is happening in the future, na kankshati, right? He does not worry about the future. He does not have aspirations about the future. Rather, he is situated in the very present moment, remembering, focusing everything in serving Lord Shri Krishna and meditating on Lord Shri Krishna. So that has been identified. And thus one acts in with perfection. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu. So Samadarshi is also one of the characteristic of Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, is that he is seeing everyone with equal vision. Mad bhakti labate param, and is constantly engaged in lovingly devoted in serving me. So again we are seeking with love, we want to act. So in the chapter 3, Lord Krishna says that act as a matter of duty. But here he reveals that one should act with love, one should act with devotion, one should act without attachment to the fruits, rather engaging everything, even the fruits and all one's abilities in serving Lord Shri Krishna, to please Lord Shri Krishna, and thus one would attain the level of perfection, come to the Brahma Bhuta stage where one would become Prasannatma. We will get blessings of the Lordship, constant blessings, and not be driven by desires which are like rivers merging into the ocean. So we see that rivers, when they merge into the ocean, at that juncture, the volume just suddenly rises. But at the same time, the ocean stays constant. And that's why deltas are formed, because the rivers, as they're merging, at that time they're facing this resistance from the ocean. The deltas are formed. They are forming different ways how to, merge into the ocean. And one should act like that ocean. These incessant desires are arising for sense gratification. But one who is austere, one who is tapasvi, one who is, understanding one's true nature and not being driven by these various material desires, rather controlling and focusing oneself in serving Lord Shri Krishna, he purifies himself, he elevates to that Brahma Bhuta stage. Now Lord Krishna is giving such beautiful analogies and examples as how one has to be in Krishna consciousness, because it is for one's own benefit, it is for our own benefit. So we have to serve Lord Shri Krishna with that mood. And there is, and these desires, they lead to various kind of anarthas, the material desires. We cannot be without desires. We are living entities, we have constant desire. Even when we are sleeping, we are dreaming of and thinking of different desires. But if the desires are dovetailed in pleasing Lord Shri Krishna, they are the rightful desires. And the ones that are seeking sense gratification, that will cause us to bind in this world, as we have heard in chapter 3. And there is a beautiful reference Srila Prabhupada gives from Padma Puran. So he did not identify that this verse is from Padma Puran. So I did some research and found out that this is from Padma Puran. And this example is very similar to the example that Lord Krishna is revealing in this chapter, and Srila Prabhupada shares that verse, that just by vision, the fish, they maintain their offspring, just by seeing. And fishes do that by laying the eggs and constantly seeing how the eggs are coming up, and they're protecting, they're trying to see that they have laid it at the right place, secure place, and they are trying to ward off all kind of enemies who are trying to attack these eggs. And so just by vision and guarding that place, fishes maintain their offsprings, the eggs, as well as the offsprings when the eggs hatch and the small, the fishes, the babies come out. So they are also protected just by vision, just by seeing that they are doing the right thing, they're staying at the right place and kind of like directing. And the offspring, they also see that the parents are looking at us. So they are acting accordingly. And then a turtle, by meditation, maintains the offspring. So a turtle lays its eggs on land and is meditating in the waters, meditating on the eggs, and thus maintaining the offspring. And the birds, they maintain their offsprings by touch. So the birds, they lay their eggs in the nest, and they're constantly trying to keep them warm with their bodies, with their touch. And so the offsprings, they come, and then the birds, they are going out finding food, and they're bringing it and then giving it to their offsprings, the babies, the baby birds. And so they are maintaining by touch, by constantly making sure that they are coming up, they're growing well. So this example is being given. And Srila Prabhupada, even though it is where Tataham api Padmaja, so do I also Padmaja, this is where it has been revealed by the Lord, so that He is maintaining everyone. He is the supreme proprietor, He is the supreme enjoyer, He is aware of all, directly and indirectly, of all happenings in this world, yet He is the true maintainer, He is the supreme maintainer of all living entities. And even in the secondary creation, we know Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Lord Brahma creates, Lord Vishnu maintains, and Lord Shiva annihilates, He destroys. So Lord Vishnu is maintaining everyone in this material world. So that has been revealed here. Yet at the same time, Srila Prabhupada used this example to teach us how we as devotees can rise higher to return back home, back to Godhead, by constantly looking at the beautiful forms of the deities. So we look at the beautiful forms of the deities, Shri Radha Damodar, and how he is wonderfully carrying out so many pastimes. We are meditating on the beautiful deity forms in the temple. His beautiful pastimes reveal various forms. And just by chanting of the holy name, we are constantly meditating on his name, form, activities, pastime. That is highly recommended, Srila Prabhupada said. And so, we can constantly look at the beautiful form of Lord Shri Krishna, and then we can constantly meditate on Lord's name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we can meditate on Lord's name, form, activities, pastimes, singing His glories constantly, meditating on His various pastimes. And touching is by acting in Krishna consciousness. Yes, touching the deities, their lotus feet, paying obeisances to the lotus feet is very purifying. Further purifying is acting in Krishna consciousness, acting to please Lord Shri Krishna. Rishikena, Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. So that is, seva, that is bhakti. In bhakti is Uchyate, it is glorified. So that is how we should be working. So that is, with equal vision, we are interacting with everyone while engaging in devotional service. And there is a very important word Srila Prabhupada identifies, Brahma Nirvana, which is the absence of material miseries. So one feels the absence of material miseries because one gets the umbrella above oneself. A devotee feels that he is under the protection of Lord's lotus feet, which are acting like umbrella. There is another example Lord Krishna reveals, is that we, living entities, we are not really controller of this body, we are not the proprietor of this body. The material senses are acting based on the abilities that have been provided by material energy. Yet at the same time, where are we now? So if we are not here, then where are we? And Srila Prabhupada reveals in the purport that actually we are in the material ocean. We are not the controller or proprietor of this body, but rather we are in a material ocean constantly being hit by the waves. So sometimes when we are thinking of yourself, just imagine yourself, you are in an ocean. You are like literally floating in an ocean, and now you are trying to survive, and the waves are hitting us constantly, left and right. What can you do? Are you going to tell the ocean or the waves that to stop hitting me? You cannot do that. Rather, you want to get out of that material ocean. Teshaham sambuddhata mityu sansara sagrat. So what is this mityu sansara? It is like a saga. It is that material ocean. It's an ocean of nascence. It is an ocean of darkness. And in darkness we cannot see what it is unless we get the blessings of the Lordship. And Bhavamina chirat partha maya veshita chaitsam. And Lord Krishna says that He is a quick deliverer. So if Lord Krishna comes and He quickly extends His hands and picks us up from the material ocean, that is for our benefit. So this is where the reference of sun comes in. So when the sun rises, in the morning, similarly the transcendental knowledge, the song of God, Bhagavad Gita, is revealing this knowledge to us. And in the light of this knowledge, we can see things as they are. Otherwise, we will be influenced by the false ego, seeking sense gratification and feeling the pangs of this material world constantly. So that is Samadarshina. We understand everything in relationship with Lordship, and so we see and we respect all other living entities. And finally, it is very interesting that this way we can return back home, back to Godhead very easily. Lord Krishna reveals that. And in the 27th and 28th verse, Lord Krishna gives a glimpse. He is paving a path to the next chapter. This is Dhyan Yoga. He is giving us, the Ashtanga Yoga system. So that has been revealed, where he is saying that, a yogi constantly, merges his exhalation into inhalation. So he's talking about the pranayama exercises Lord Krishna is revealing. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport refers to Ashtanga Yoga, the eightfold procedure of Dhyan Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, which are Yam. Yam is prohibitions. These are things you should not do. Niyam is regulated principles, things you should do. Then asana. Asana are various bodily postures that you twist and turn your body, and this is to control the senses. Pranayam, to reestablish your energy within the body, to keep an equilibrium. Pratyahara is to refraining from the sense objects. So this is where meditating. So again, you are bringing yourself, all your senses in. You are kind of like restraining your senses. That's like the example of turtle, who restricts the limbs by pulling them inside as soon as it feels any danger outside. Pratyahara, and then dharan. Dharan is, you are establishing yourself in that position to meditate. And then your dhyan. Dhyan is meditation on the Supreme Lord. And then samadhi is trance. Trance was the nomenclature we use for chapter 4, transcendental knowledge. So here one is in samadhi through an Ashtanga Yoga system has been, identified. So Lord Krishna is paving that way where he is going to explain in the next chapter about Dhyan Yoga. And it's very important to understand that Ashtanga Yogi, he does various kind of exercises to control the senses. So the focus of Ashtanga Yogi is to control the senses, and a happy mind resides in a healthy mind resides in a healthy body. It's a fact. So yes, so the mind will become healthy, mind will become purified, and so one can see things as they are. So yes, it is elevating. But even higher than that is, not just controlling the senses, then Jnana Yogi is the one who sharpens the mind. So that is another yoga system where a Jnana Yogi is sharpening one's intelligence actually, and by knowledge, with by study of Vedas, Vedanta Sutras and so forth, one sharpens the intelligence, and by sharpening the intelligence, one can control the mind, because intelligence is higher than mind, right? And devotees, we act in knowledge. So we go further ahead by acting in knowledge and to remove the false ego, to control our ego and understand that I am not this body, I am a spirit soul, so I have to act as per my situation. So we are in this material world, but we are spiritual beings. Why should we have material experience? Rather, we should have spiritual experience. And those spiritual experience comes from spiritual acts, which is action in Krishna consciousness. And by acting in Krishna consciousness, we get amazing blessings. So it is not that we have this umbrella, so no miseries will happen. No. Devotees face all kind of hardships, all kind of circumstances. But because they are surrendered at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, and Lord Krishna's lotus feet grants one the blessing of fearlessness, grants one that blessing of being protected, being peaceful, and not being bewildered. At such times, we feel, and just agma apaino anityas, even just like the happiness and distress, both are temporary in nature, they come and go, and so the phase pass, and we feel the blessing of Lordship by acting at a spiritual platform aligned with our prescribed duties, our Sanatan Dharma with Swadharma. So Lord Krishna, he is inciting Arjuna that you should get up and fight. In chapter 4, he said, in proper knowledge, so that knowledge refers to the light coming from sun, and sun is Lord Shri Krishna. And in the last verse, the last S in blessed stands for Shanti. Where one stays in knowledge, one acts to realize in proper knowledge and experience the transcendence with that knowledge and the action in knowledge. So this is the peace formula. So this verse is also referred to as peace formula. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvalok maheshwaram surhidam sarvabhutanam gyatva shantim richati. Bhoktaram yagatapasam. So Lord Krishna is the supreme proprietor of all the material and spiritual universes. And he is the beneficiary of all sacrifices. So beneficiary of all sacrifices is Yagya Tapa. Yagya is sacrifices, Tapa is austerity. So all kind of sacrifices that we perform, all kind of austerities that we perform should be, dovetailed. They should be as an offering to please Lord Shri Krishna. Sometimes people get bewildered. They're saying, I'm making all the sacrifices for my family. Well, if you're making sacrifices from a family, family is your extension of the body, right? So you are now thinking with respect to the body. Best sacrifice is to keep Lord Shri Krishna in the center, to engage the whole family in serving Lord Shri Krishna and act with that consciousness. So even though a devotee goes to work to earn money, his consciousness is on a completely different platform. He is highly elevated compared to a person who wants to just say, at the end of the month, I'm going to get this money and then I'm going to go out with my friends and enjoy and engage in all kind of sensual activities. That is a completely different consciousness than the consciousness of one who is going and engaging in the same kind of activities. They are experiencing completely different effects. So the cause is Lord Shri Krishna. And we just become the media, we are just the instruments. And when we engage with wrong consciousness, with wrong mind, with impure mind, it causes, distress to us. So Bhoktaram Yagatapsam, so he is the beneficiary of all sacrifices, all austerities, Sarvalok Maheshwaram, and he is the supreme proprietor of all material and spiritual universes. Surhitam Sarvabhutanam, and he is the best friend, he is the benefactor of all living entities. Gyatva mam shantim richati. One who knows me, gyatva mam, one who knows me, shantim richati, becomes peaceful, attains peace. So this is where Lord is revealing how we can attain transcendence. How can we be at the Brahma-Bhuta stage? How can we be peaceful? And as we engage further, this chain reaction sets us higher and higher. So that's like the elevator path where we have pressed the top button after entering the elevator, and it's taking us to the top floor just by engaging in devotional service. So in chapter 5 we learn the various kind of blessings Lord Krishna reveals, which takes away all kind of anxieties, which takes away all kind of bindings of this world, picks us up from this material ocean, liberates us, and we are on this. And also Lord's lotus feet is Samashita Ye Pad Pallava Plavam. So they are also a perfect boat on which we can ride. But we are not alone. We are with other devotees and Samadarshi, and we are seeking everyone's benefit. In material world, a materialist is seeking to become ruler of everyone else and want everyone else to act per their desire. But devotees, they understand that everyone is serving Lord Shri Krishna. So let's all act as per Lord Krishna's desire and please Lord Shri Krishna, and then we will get so much blessings. And it is the time, I believe, for prasad. Prasad also means mercy of Lord Shri Krishna. And when we think of prasad, yes, that mercy of Lord Shri Krishna, which nourishes us, which purifies us, which elevates us, is always there. So that's why devotee association is paramount. And we can quickly attain peace and become peaceful and attain the Brahma-Bhuta stage to quickly go back home, back to Godhead. So that are some of the lessons. And Lord Krishna gave a hint of Dhyan Yoga in 27th and 28th verse. So this is where we'll be picking up chapter 6, Dhyan Yoga, where Lord Krishna explains Ashtanga Yoga elaborately. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.